Hi, hello, hi, and welcome to all our hearts and minds. Thank you again for tuning in. We're here to discuss all things that have been on our hearts and minds, the good, the bad, the concerning, and uplifting, or just straight talk. We're your hosts, Kimmy, our passionate heart,
Yeah.
and me, Jeanette, our mind and chronic overthinker. Let's get into it.
Yes. Please.
Okay, we're back this week for a new episode. It's been crazy. The world is crazy right now,
Sure
but
is.
glad glad to catch up again with you, friend. And
Yes.
let's just jump into our checkup. How are you feeling? Where are you at?
I'm okay. I'm doing pretty good. I can't
Mm-hmm.
complain. It was a short week last week because of
Mm-hmm.
the Thanksgiving. So
Yeah.
it felt like a long week, but it was short indeed. But you know what? I got through it. God's grace. Thank you, Jesus, because there was points and times I was thinking my whole career. But
Oh, those days are always interesting.
right, they are, because it really has you contemplating, like, is this what I'm supposed to do? But no, but overall, it was a good week. A pretty good week. How
Mm.
about yourself?
It was okay. It was okay. I like I said since our last recording, we skipped a week, but our episode went out this week. But remember last time, in the last episode, I was saying I was going to Chicago, so I went to that trip.
Hmm.
I know listeners are going to be mad, but I didn't get the deep dish.
Well,
um, yeah. And
hey,
anyway, if I know what deep dish is, it's not the kind of pizza I like anyway. I think it's a one where it's a little bit more greasy and crispy at the
if
bottom. The
it's
crust.
not done properly, yeah. If it's not done
Okay.
right, but if it's done right, it could be really tasty. Really
Mm,
tasty. Yeah, but
yeah. I
and you
think from
gotta
what
you
I
gotta
know,
have a feeling for if you like cheese, you'll like
yes.
deep dish because
Okay.
there's a lot of damn cheese.
Okay,
A
okay,
lot of
that's what
damn.
I think. It's like the more richer pizza, which I think is why I'm
Yes,
like,
yes,
obviously probably one slice is good, but that's just to try it. But I think it's a
yeah,
little bit more intense than I like. But from what I know, I think I like Detroit and New York style. From
yep.
what I
Mhm.
know, but so I didn't
Mhm.
have that. But Chicago, the weather was pretty bad. Not bad, but compared to Toronto, like last week, Toronto was still like really warm. Toronto was in the 25s.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then we went to 25 Celsius, and then we went to Chicago, and Chicago was like about, maybe you're lucky if it hit 20. It was like 15 to 20, but cool
Windy
city. The part
City.
Windy
Mhm.
City. And the side we were at is a little bit closer to the water,
Right.
as well as we were in the bougie gentrified area. It's
Oh
called
yeah.
Fulton Market, West Loop side of Chicago. So
Oh yeah. That's the real
um,
bougie area.
yeah, it was
Mhm.
very much gentrified. It was like literally like on a movie set. As like it was so
Mm-mm.
clean. It was like kind of quietish.
Mm-mm.
I was like, wow, this is not the Chicago I hear about, but obviously this different. There's different parts of Chicago, and this little area that I happened to be in, didn't explore too much, was very much giving gentrified, which is fine. It was like a beautiful little area. I'd lived there. I'd worked there for a month. But it's interesting. I was going to share. I had my Uber driver back to the airport was a young 21-year-old guy from around the west side, more west side side of Chicago, the urban areas where there's a lot of crime and shit going on with D Block and O Block and
Yeah.
Herbo and Lil Durk, all the drama, Chicago drama, real Chirac. And he was
Right.
from that area, and we were talking, and he asked me, "Do you fly a lot?" I said, I don't think I fly a lot, but more than average, I would say. Like I've been places
Mm-hmm.
every once in a while. I'll take a trip. He's like, I've never flown a plane. I've never been anywhere outside of
Oh
Illinois or
Lord.
or Indiana. And I was like, wow. And then I didn't get it at first. I just thought he was scared of planes. And then he kind of was talking. It was like there's a lot of traffic, so I was in the car with him for about 45 minutes, and
Oh yeah.
he was just telling me. It was just like an interesting inside look of somebody that age who grew up in that. And he said the reason
Right.
he's driving Uber is he doesn't want to be a part of that. He was already tiptoed in that life, and his father was in jail for many years, and his father came out of jail, and that was the reason why he got off the streets.
Wow.
And Yeah, so anyway, shout out to Max. Yeah, I got a real, it was an intro. I never told you yet, but it was really interesting. And it's like, normally I don't really like to have the long talking, but because it was a long ride and it was actually interesting to talk to him and give him encouragement and
Right. Yeah.
everything. So yeah, that was an interesting, a really cool, interesting experience. And then second, work week was a work week. It was fun. It was okay.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, with all the tragedy that's going on in the Middle East right now,
Right? Too much
slightly
at once.
awkward, slightly,
Right? Yeah.
prayer. But first of all, prayers up to all the civilians who were,
Yep. Yep.
attacked and all this violence, war crimes, and all this stuff, like on both sides. I don't
Right.
have a side, but humanity is humanity. So
That's the side I'm on.
I'm on the
Humanity.
side of humanity.
That's it.
So
That's all.
prayers up to
Mhm.
all the victims.
Yeah.
All right. So
Oh, but you know
we're
what I
going.
wanted to mention with your story
Yeah,
about your driver there
yeah.
is that it's so funny how stepping outside of where you live, like literally step not where you live, not down the street,
Yeah, but
not
outside of
town
your, yeah,
over, like
exactly.
outside of where you live, how much it can enrich your life.
Oh
Like it
yeah,
can really change who you are when you get a chance to step outside of where you're
and
from.
great, now, and it's a great point because he did say something like that. He said, like, since I drove Uber, I've met so many different people. I drive them to the airport because he obviously he doesn't drive his Uber in that area because they'll rob him.
Of
They
course.
mashed up his car. I mean, they didn't know it was his car, so they mashed up the car. And it wasn't until after his friends found out, and he's like, "Yo, that's my car." And then they're like, "Oh, that's your car. Okay, sorry, sorry, sorry." They didn't know that was his car.
Yeah, but you
'Cause
still
these
mashed
are,
it up. So
yeah,
thanks.
these are people in his. They know him. They don't know it's their
Right.
car, so they're just gonna go in. But anyway, yeah, he says he doesn't take rides there, so he'll come out to like the
No,
bougie
I mean like
areas.
I mean like taking a trip outside of where you
Ah,
live.
yeah,
Like
yeah, and then mm,
traveling in general, I find
yeah,
can really enrich a person, and it could really it could bring you back down to earth. It can make you love where you're from, you
yeah.
know?
I told him that
Mhm.
he's, and I didn't at first. I didn't get it, but then when he kind of explained like where he's from and everything, oh, it's just because your circumstances. You're from the hood. You
Right.
don't have
That's right.
anybody. You just like you're scrapped. Like now, it's like you have a vision. You're meeting people, and now you kind of want to explore. It's like you're thinking about a little bit of doing that. Obviously, as he's scared, he said like he hasn't been outside of Chicago and he's only been one state over driven. And it's like, I think when we had our travel episode,
Yeah.
Traveling While Black, we
Yeah.
talked about why it's not just to be like bougie
Oh no. It's to
and it's like
broaden
literally
your
to give
horizon.
perspective. Yeah. And I
Yeah,
told him, he
broaden
said,
your horizons,
and
because
that's something,
mhm.
and
No,
that's
go ahead. What you
something
saying?
I was going to say, that's something I said. I don't know the question he asked me. And he was just curious. He's just
Yeah.
like, he felt comfortable with me. And so we were
Yeah.
talking. And he said, and I don't know what's curious, but I told him, like, when I travel is not just to get on a plane and go and sit on the beach. Sometimes you just want to see all the wonders of the world, like you said, exactly what you said, different
Yeah.
perspective. And I told him about when I went to Arizona and I saw the Grand Canyon and how, like, you look at those things and these are reminders that we're just a speck. We're a speck in the universe.
Right?
God, this earth is like, we're lucky to be here. You know what I mean?
And all of
We're
its
here for
wonders.
a spark. We're here for a flicker of a light, a flicker of a light or a candle. That's how long we're here. When we think about how long this earth is here and the
Right?
actual wonder of it itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And he
it's
was like,
true.
yeah, I wish if I had money, I could take all these young kids in my neighborhood and take them there so they could see like life is bigger than this
It
nonsense.
sure is. And it does give you a different perspective on life. I'm so grateful that my parents were very adventurous that way. Like they
Mm,
wanted to take me places and show me
yeah.
things. And they wanted me to step outside of where I was from. And I could see why it's very valuable. So for that young man, I hope that you do get the opportunity. And
Yes.
thank you for doing the right thing. Thank you
Mm,
for not being a part of what's around you, because it's so easy to fall into that, and you're trying desperately not to. And so, kudos to him. If you ever do listen to this podcast, kudos to you that you are doing something more than what's almost expected of you from where you're
yeah.
from, you
Exactly.
know
So yeah,
so
shout out to
yeah.
Max, my Uber driver in Chicago.
Max, we have to big you up, Max. Come and listen now. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so it sounds like we're doing okay. The world isn't a scary
Yeah.
place, but we just stay prayed up. and find ways to find joy and
That's
peace and
it.
gratitude.
That's
All right, so we'll move into the headlines. We're gonna keep it casual and light, and just kind of
mm-hmm.
go through our topics and do a call out. But we'll start with the headlines that I can't even get away from.
Like,
Girl,
jeez.
Miss Giada. Giada.
Tina, shut up now.
Well, okay, before I get into it, first, because I know you're gonna tear her a new one, but
Yeah,
first,
she deserves it.
I
Like,
want to say
what doesn't
something.
do?
I want to say something for Jada. Jada, I know
Mm-hmm.
you have a book to sell.
You sure do. You
I
sure do.
know you feel what you're saying is very important.
Ugh.
And you know, we're in a free country. You can say you want to say, but now it's kind of like, girl, you've been saying this shit for the past 10 years.
Get over
Um
yourself, Jada.
get
Please.
yeah, that's I think I want
Please.
to say get over yourself. I don't personally like I can understand people being annoyed because now I'm at the point where I'm like, girl, stop. But I also do feel like she's a little bit more vilified with like the whole situation between them. They both have partners. It's just her partner opened his mouth and told the world. But Will has his girlfriend. We've seen pictures with his girlfriend. Will was talking too much about himself too when he had his book talking about
Sure
he had
did.
sex with so
Yeah.
much women that he was vomiting. I was like, Will, I didn't want to know that about you.
Like,
But it's
too much info.
interesting. But I guess men in particular are gonna feel a way. They're sympathizing with him. I'm not gonna invalidate their feelings, but I am sensing a double standard. I'm now seeing that Jada is now the quintessential example. We have plenty of examples of male narcissists. This is
Oh,
one of our
she
if you want to
she's
see
right
the
up there with the
you
big
want to
boys,
see
man.
the
Like,
book
Jesus.
textbook example of the female narcissist, Jada's your girl.
This is her. This is it. This is it.
Yeah.
And I wanna okay. We already understand that Jada, she's had a really good run. Like, she's had a really good career as an actress.
Mm.
She stepped outside and wanted to do this rock band business. That's when I gave her the side eye. But anywho, the narcissism is just overwhelming, okay? Because this story feels like a constant for the last 10 years. And I don't really want to be in your business like that. So what happened recently is Jada, she decided to do a sit down talk interview. I forgot the name of
She's done a few. She's doing a bunch of them right now.
that's why I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Anybody who will listen to this woman. But anywho, she sat down in an interview and basically discussed her and Will's relationship, and that since 2016, her and Will decided that they were going to separate and live their own separate lives.
Mm.
2016. Okay. When was the box of the century? Just last year.
Last
Okay.
year.
The box of the
Sorry.
century was last year.
Hmm.
Okay. Keep that into perspective, people. Last year's was the box of the century. All right. When the box of the century was happening, I felt like there was something theatrical about this. There was a note of like, this is you know a Y&R type of situation. This is like a drama type of situation. Like,
Mm.
it just didn't feel 100% authentic,
Yeah.
especially to Will Smith. All right, let's put that in perspective. So this woman continues continues to put her business out in the street.
Yeah.
She's done interviews on top of interviews. I can't even remember how many damn interviewers have interviewed her on this damn topic. Everybody is going to town on their relationship. I don't know what the reason is outside of narcissism. I really don't understand it. Will, on the other hand, I don't understand why you constantly just leave this woman. Like, just divorce this woman. You guys have been separated since 2016, so technically you kind of are divorced. You've been
You know.
living your own
Mm.
lives.
Mm. You know what I
Okay.
think? I think this is like the first step. I think within a year or two that
Man, you
divorce.
can't make a first step from 2016, Bridget. This step too big.
I
When
mean,
you
in terms of like now that she said it, the divorce is coming, and then within a
I
year or
still
two,
don't
the
believe
divorce
the
is.
divorce is coming. I don't believe it, man,
You
because
don't
I
believe
don't
it?
understand. I don't believe the divorce. There's no divorce coming. Let me tell you that.
Okay.
I thought about it. Let me tell you why. Because why the hell, if you're gonna fix and divorce yourself, did Will make a big old dirty stink on stage of backs down people? Why
But
did he do that? He put
oh,
his
that's true.
reputation, he put his career, he put all of his accolades on the line when he boxed down Chris Rock on the stage. You understand?
The way you said it,
Right. So
you got
why
boxed down.
why am I thinking of divorcing you, yet I'm gonna publicly humiliate our family, publicly humiliate myself, ruin my reputation.
That's true.
Nobody wants to work with me. Everybody thinks I'm a hothead. Like, he went from being a squeaky clean actor
Hmm.
where we knew very little of his business to now all of his business and his wife crotches is everywhere you turn, to the point where, well, we now find out that one of the reasons why we think he boxed on Chris Rock is because Chris Rock probably asked out Jada,
Yep, when the
because
rumors
they've
were going.
been separated since 2016. So
Mm.
what was the theatrics? Why did we do all of this? For what? Especially, it doesn't make any sense however you want to look at it. If you're going to get a divorce, why would you put your career on the line? She's
No,
going to
you're
take
right.
half of everything you got.
Oh, you're right.
You
I
need
can't.
that career. What you
Yeah.
mean? Huh? That
Yeah.
don't make no sense. Two, why are we acting like we're together? I don't understand this. People break up every damn day. Okay? Like, I understand you were for a lot of people like the epitome of black love in Hollywood. I get it. However, we done booked the nonsense long time ago. That's why you felt it necessary in 2016 to hide from the rest of the public that you guys were not together. So we already knew it. They've been asking her about their relationship since 2016.
Mm.
So I missed me with it. These people are really really weird, really really strange. Okay, Jada is a narcissist. She is the queen of this shit. And what I really want to ask is, why are we still doing this? Like, why is this still happening? All your business is out in the street. We know that you guys have relationships. This one wants to write a book. That one wants to. Why are we going through the public humiliation?
Ooh,
Why?
that's a good word. The public humiliation.
For what? What is it
Well, you know what?
for?
There, but okay. Well, you said a lot of
It not make
things.
no sense.
You said a lot of things. The humiliation piece. I think there's power in, because if they don't humiliate themselves, everybody else will. So it's one of those things where it's like, I'm gonna control my narrative. I'm gonna control whatever shame, whatever embarrassment people are gonna try on me. I'm gonna go put it out there first.
Mm.
So I actually fine like that I get that. There's also, you said something about why he, like, he
Why would
went
he
and,
put his reputation, his
yeah, he put
career,
his
his?
reputation on the
Why would
line
he do
for.
all of that? For what?
So and I do think there's, to me, as a woman, a black woman, there is a lot of honor in that. If you remember, they've kind of hinted at this, kind of like all the things she said, they've kind of hinted it on the show, but they've said that, there was a point in time when they're separated. They were probably still, now we know they're separated all this time, but there was a time when they said they're not, they have said this, they are not getting a divorce. And like you said, I do think it has a lot to do with it. This is over 25 years of merging everything. Forget the kids, because the kids are grown, but
They're
this is 20.
grown.
This is a like there's a lot of things that are wrapped up with each other, right? And especially their whole, and then them as a couple are wrapped up as a Hollywood package. Not that they owe anybody anything, right? But I think there's honor in saying, you know what, this, I, especially, he was married before, and he said, like, I do not want to get a divorce. And for all we
Yeah,
know,
because they're gonna take half of your shit.
and that there's probably a piece of that too.
No, I think
I
that's the only at this point, because when I look at Will, when I look at him,
But he
he
doesn't need.
doesn't look like he loves her. He
Mm,
looks like he's afraid of her.
mm.
There is a vast difference with a man who actually loves you and one that
But
is
then how come he?
afraid of
But
what you
if
could bring him,
but
right?
do, but he's so protective of her. So that's why I kind of
No,
don't.
I don't think it's him that I don't think he's protecting Jada. I think he's protecting himself. And
Mm.
here's why, and I'll explain real quick. The
Mm.
reason why is because in Jada's world, right, she's still in love with Tupac.
That's
Okay?
what it seems like. It's kind of
She's
sick at
still
this
in
point.
love with Tupac. And the lasting image that Tupac left before he left this world was that he was a bit of a gangster, or
Yeah.
that he was from the streets. You
Yeah.
understand? And Will, not so much.
Mm.
Not so much. He's the cookie cutter type of he's the Ken of the world. Like he's the
Mm.
Ken of the black people. Like
Mm.
he's squeaky clean. So he has been made out for at least 10 years, at least a decade, to be the biggest pom pom in the world. Okay? People have looked at him
Lord
like he's a
God, you
pom
have to do
pom.
it like that.
No, I'm gonna do him like that because I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be honest. And to be quite honest, I don't like how Jada and Will have lied to us since 2016. You
Mm.
fed me a bunch of bullshit trying to call it sugar. Well, I am calling that shit out. You are afraid of what this woman can bring you. You didn't have a strong enough backbone. You might have had the big enough dick, but you didn't have a strong enough backbone, okay, to
Mm.
handle someone like Jada. That's why she's still. How long Tupac's been dead? How long Tupac? She has made it to the point where she wants her children, who are not Tupac's, to
Mm.
worship him.
Mm.
Okay? So, yeah, you hold him at a high regard. And I'm sorry, Will has never been the character to even come close to a Tupac. They weren't from, they're just not from the same world. Okay? And
Mm.
so
Yeah.
he's been made over the years, for many years. Okay? That he's a big pum pum and that he can't do he's not that guy,
Mm.
and this is why the slap, he wanted to reinvent himself as this strong black man who's protecting his wife. Missed me with the bullshit. You guys weren't technically even together, so I
Mm.
don't know what you are protecting. This is why it's the theatrics of it all. It's all it's like a Broadway show, because really, you guys have been apart since 2000. So why does it matter who she dates if you've been apart that long? This is 2022 that you want to go box down people about your wife. Up until that point in time, you have been perceived as the biggest pom pom in rap, in everything that you do. When it comes to, I guess, the black population and our culture, a lot of people do not look at you as being hard. Okay, so you wanted to claim back some of your manhood, all right, by doing the most. I think that's what he wanted to do, and I feel like in Hollywood specifically, they all know that Jada has been out here in these streets after August, Alcina, whatever his name is. After that, you know how big of a pum pum will look like. Yeah, so he had to reclaim some of his manhood. That was the slap. That
Mm.
was him reclaiming some of his man. But either way, I feel like Jada is you need to shut the hell up. That's what you need to
Yeah,
do.
I don't want to. There's just too much. I
I'm,
can't
I'm tired
speculate
of hearing
enough. But
in
I
your
just
face.
want her. I want her to stop. I want her to go. Hey, I don't even mind if I think Red Table Talk got canceled off of Facebook, from my understanding. But I don't think she'll have a problem in get finding somewhere for it. But I want her to go back to pretending to be a self help girl, even though she is a little bit pretentious. But fine, that she can own that. But stop talking about your marriage. We have every facet. We know too much. We don't want to know anymore. You're clearly trying to sell a book.
Both of you
And
were. Both of you were.
both of them were. But I just think that fine, okay, you guys, the books are out. Shut the fuck up.
That's all
Like,
I gotta say.
that's all I
And
gotta
and
say at
on
this
top
point.
of that, it's like at this point, you're making yourself look really horrible to your fans, because a lot of people like myself who have kept up with both of their careers and their marriage over the years, I feel like this is a real slap in the face to me, because as your fan, why would you feel it necessary to lie like that? You could
Mm.
have just said, listen, we're in an open relationship, or you know what? Our marriage is off limits. Okay? Don't ask me about my marriage. Our marriage is off limits.
No
Period.
one's gonna respect that. And the minute they know that, they want to know who your partner is. So I do get it.
But
Well,
but
why?
it's not that they weren't in the public eye. They were in the public eye. And they have that much pull in Hollywood where if they said marriage is off topics, they would get away with it. They would
Yeah,
get
I don't
away
know.
with it. They have enough pull in the industry. I just don't think that this is the way to go. Like, and you know what? At this point, I don't give a shit. Just
We don't
stop
care.
talking about it. I don't care anymore. You guys are pushing it down people's throats, and we don't care to hear. We don't care to
Mm,
listen. We don't want to know anymore. You
mm.
know, you're just a bunch of liars to me, in my eyes. I don't care that your marriage is the way it is. I really don't. It's the fact that you guys stuck with this lie for so long. Even through the August Alsina situation, you stuck through it like you guys were bim and bam and bati and bench, but you weren't. So, like, forgive me for not giving a shit anymore. Will, you're handling this a lot more classier than Jada is. Jada, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And with that, because we're talking about Jada, we should move on to Tupac because she can't get enough of this damn Tupac. Tupac's been dead for 20 plus odd years. Okay?
Okay, yeah. So now they have the kill. They now it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting timing now, right? Because she's out there promoting her book, and then they recently arrested his killer. Was it Keefe D? That's a guy
Mm-hmm.
by the name of Keefe D. And I know there's a video. I don't know. I'm sure they had other infinite evidence, but there is a video going around that was from DJ Vlad that
Mm-hmm.
contributed to it. And pretty much in that video, Vlad says, "What would you something do with Tupac's killer? What do you think they would do with Tupac's killer? Or what do you think Tupac's killer would say, or something like that?" And he said, and his response was, "I'd say," and he literally says, "I'd say." I was like,
Dummy.
damn, fool. You like this, these
Dummy.
people can like, have you seen that video?
I have seen the video and I was
Mm,
I was like, okay, why would you say that? Like, you just
right?
got out of jail. You just got out of jail, bro. Like, literally, you just got out of jail maybe a couple months ago or a few months ago, or last year sometime. And I'm like, why are you saying, you know, that's an admission, right? Like, you just
Mm.
admitted that you killed him. And that's not a Freudian slip. Okay? That's a real deal. You were admitting to something. Um Keefe D, Keefe D is gonna come out with some stuff. I feel like he's gonna drop the mic in a minute. He is
Well,
gonna
actually, let
tell
me
us
set
some
up.
stuff.
Let
Mm-hmm.
me set
Yeah.
up this. So essentially, we're talking about. They said the person responsible for Tupac's death, Tupac Shakur's death, is this guy named Keefe D, and he's incriminated himself. And there's been lots of rumors, there's been lots of books, there's been lots of things going around pointing to him, but there was
Yeah.
never enough evidence to
Since
convict him,
Tupac
right?
was shot, people have been
Yes.
saying this.
So it's like it's
Mm-hmm.
one of those things where everybody knows. It's like it's a known secret. Everybody knows that this is who did it, but he was never convicted, right? And so now, after all the evidence was acclimated and he was finally arrested, and these people now he's going to sing like a canary. Well, that's a
Yep.
worry. The worry is obviously he wasn't the only one. He wasn't working on his own. Things like this rarely ever happen by one individual making that decision,
No,
and he
it
was
can't.
protected. He was clearly protected as well. For
Yeah.
him not to, for everybody, so much people to know who the killer was, and nobody to really incriminate him. So there was obviously something going on in behind the scenes.
And when you say that word protection, in order to
Yeah,
have that kind of protection, you got to know people who are high up, who got
yeah,
that type of money. Let's
mm,
put that in perspective. Diddy, yeah, would he qualify for one of them people that? Yeah, he would. Yeah,
he
he
would.
would. But anywho, go on. Keefe D can't keep his damn mouth shut. But
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, first of all, um, thank goodness there was justice. First of all, thank goodness that justice was served. And usually, honestly, when people of this caliber, uh, unless you're like John F. Kennedy, sorry, but like
right.
when people of this caliber, like presidents and somebody like this who is well known, a public figure and well loved, you're rarely gonna get away from it,
No, you're
away
not.
with it. And whether it's the court of public opinion or the
Yeah.
real court where finally justice will be served, and I do believe, like to your point, where some people are going to be incriminated, whether it's actually Diddy, whether whoever else is involved in this, names are going to be dropped. I think, unless there's like a Epstein thing where the man
There's
just
gonna be a whole tell-all book. Just you wait.
so it's crazy and it's interesting. But if I want to think back, me, if I want to personalize this a little bit, like
Hmm.
we think about when we were kids, like we were literally kids when Tupac died, but like it doesn't matter. Like his music, it was Tupac and Biggie, and there was,
Yep.
oh, even as kids, we're like, oh, West Side. We didn't
Yep.
understand. Like now we think we're in Toronto, we don't really know what's real. We're talking about all the
No.
drama, we're reading
Right.
Vibe magazine, the Source magazine, and getting into drama,
Right.
but we don't really know what's what, right? But regardless, we were literally kids in grade school when all this happened, and we're like, and we're like, we're in beef. But I was like, when he died, I was a child, but I was like, wow, I cried because I love Tupac. I thought he
I
was like,
love Tupac. Okay, I
I thought he was
absolutely loved
so.
him.
I thought I was like he's like he's gangster, but he's a poet. He's so good looking. He's a
Yep.
good actor. Everything about him, like always like for the artsy fartsies. So I was like, yeah, he's gangster and he said some crazy shit, but he's also like really creative and artistic, right? He's not like he's a real artist. I think that's the part that Jada's obsessed with, but regardless, like I remember I was thinking, I was like like literally like cried. I
I
was like,
think I was in grade 9. I believe maybe
really?
around. It
Yeah,
was early high school. And what see, I love Tupac because he was relatable for everybody.
everybody. He spoke to the soul. He
Everybody could
spoke to the
speak.
heart.
He
Yeah.
literally spoke to the heart. And it just a brief moment of when I realized that
Mm,
was when
mm, yeah.
my parents listened to his music and was like, "Huh, oh, okay." I remember my parents, they were like, okay, this boy is saying something. He's
Mm,
saying something real, and that's when I knew that, okay, this is not just a rapper. This is an activist. He's
yeah.
speaking for us. He's
Mm,
speaking from a perspective of a black person, especially in his life, in his neighborhood, how he
yeah.
grew up. It wasn't easy. It was very rough for him. And so the fact that he made it out of all of that and could tell us about it was, and he was a good storyteller. Like in
Amazing
his
storyteller.
music, he could really depict a real scene and a real
Mm,
understanding of his life and what was going on with him and what was going on at the time, not just him, but at the time,
yeah.
right? I believe that was like maybe towards the ending of the crack pandemic.
Mm,
Yeah, pandemic. It was
yeah.
a crack epidemic.
Epidemic. Yeah.
Epidemic, right? And so Tupac, he spoke volumes and he was just a creative being,
Mm,
because it didn't matter what he went into. He went into acting. He was stellar, like just stellar actor. His music. Then when he started to talk, and what his message, what he was trying to deliver on the countless interviews that he had, he was an activist. Like he's very much an activist for Black people, and
oh
you
yeah.
can tell it was deeply rooted in him,
Oh yeah. His mom was a Black
from his
Panther.
parents. Exactly. And you can tell that his parents had an influence on his thinking. um and he was a poet, so he had a lot underneath his belt, and it was so sad when he left. So Keefe D, if you were the one that killed Tupac, understand, once you get convicted of this, there's going to be a lot of people that don't like you
Mm.
and don't want to see you win. Okay? So, but after you drop your tell-all book, after you drop your tell-all book,
People want the
because,
names.
yeah, no, people want the names, because from my understanding, the word on the street is that Keefe D at one point was protection for Diddy. And
Mm,
this is where they think in their theory that Diddy pretty much contracted him to kill Tupac. Because
mm,
at the time, it was Tupac and it was Biggie. That was it. They were holding down everything.
mm,
Everything. Okay. And I could see Keefe D definitely talking some truth about what happened back then. And I think, Diddy is feeling the heat. I think he's
yeah.
feeling the heat. The other day he came on, I think it was Instagram or TikTok
Mm,
or one of them two, that, and was making like a public announcement to everybody that he needs our support, and God told him to ask us for support and all this shit. Why would you feel you need support? That's what I'm thinking. You never needed support when you were stepping on all those black people to get to where you are, but now all of a sudden you want support. Miss me with it. Diddy, and I stop. Listen, from back then I thought you had something to do with it. From back then, I said, yeah, Diddy has something to do with this, and it's gonna come out in time. And right when you're at your peak, where you're at the height of your career, is
Hmm.
when you're gonna fall the farthest. So you better hope that this Keefe D, okay? You should have hooked his ass up when he came out of jail. That's why he wouldn't have been blasting your name in all of this nonsense. But Tupac, man,
Ooh.
you are one that was truly lost, and you are truly cherished, and you can tell because Jada can't come off your dick. All now she can't. Okay, all now. But Keefe D, you're gonna get yours. Don't you worry. And when he does, he's dragging everybody down with him because he ain't got shit to lose. So you got to be worried about those people who ain't got shit to lose. You understand? Diddy,
Yeah.
okay, Mr. Diddy. Let's move on to talk about Drake and his new
Yeah.
album.
So yeah, we're gonna move on to Drizzy. Drizzy Drake, Aubrey Graham, the boy. Um he released his album last week for all the dogs.
Yeah.
Um it was highly anticipated just in general because
Yeah.
any big artist who's releasing, regardless, even if it's somebody who's dropping like crazy, um there's gonna be some anticipation. One is what's gonna be on it, whether we know it's gonna be good or bad. Um, we're waiting for it, and so it came out. I didn't get to listen to it till earlier this week, but they need to. There was so much drama surrounding it. But every time he releases an album, social media is like, he's that kind of artist.
Yeah.
He came up in the social media era, so that just works in his favor at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so for all the dolls came out, and the first thing is Joe Budden. Joe Budden, Joe
Joe Budden.
Budden loves Drake's music. I don't know if he
He
likes him, but
does.
he's a fan of Drake's music.
And he said
He
it too. He said
and
it.
he said, even in that episode that's gone viral that I'm gonna bring up, um, he has gone, he's known, that's why the only reason I knew about the album was because Joe Budden kept on saying that he's waiting for it. Like, okay, like that's how I knew that, oh, Drake is dropping soon. And so, um, Joe Budden on his episode pretty much was a little bit critical of the episode, and essentially, to say it in a nutshell, he was saying that, you know, essentially, he feels that Drake needs to grow up and mature, and I feel like most people kind of agree with that because we have
Hmm.
to remember Drake is either 37 or 38. Jake is like, I think he's turning 37 this year. He's in the
Hmm.
37-38 range, right? And yeah, because the reason why I feel like
He's
people like,
36 to be exact, and he'll be
oh,
turning
36.
37
He's turning 37. Okay, yeah.
this month.
So
This month in
this month, yeah,
October.
there's October's his birthday, October's very own. So, and I get where he was coming from now that I have listened to it, but he's like, stop fucking with the 25-year-olds. And of course, Drake came back and ripped him a new one, because Drake is very petty like that. And I'll just kind of do a few of the one liners that I was like, ooh, shots fired.
Right?
It's just funny to see grown men, 40-year-old men argue. It's just funny. It's okay. It's like we all like, just like everybody wants to create cat fights and animosity between women celebrities. It's
Hmm.
entertaining for once to look at the men be catty. And
Yep.
so he first of all, he says that Joe Budden failed at music. You left it
Hmm.
because you left it to be on the mic and do things like this clip. For any artist watching this, remember you are watching a failure. That's what he said about him. He said something about his outfits. He said you switch careers because of things that pop into your brain have you broke for a living, checked, and having you living check to check, and the raps you write had 450 men showing up to your shows and dusty Iniche jeans. Damn. Woo, Drake.
Try. Iniche. Put a Nietzsche in there.
Remember Iniche? Why
Yeah,
why'd you put
man.
Iniche in
I had to go
it?
put a Nietzsche in
He said you
it.
retired and you never hung up your jersey. We don't even remember your number. We know
Wow.
you are doing this. We know you for doing this. You withdrew from the rap game because you accomplished all you need to. It's because it wasn't, not because you accomplished everything you need to, because it wasn't working for you. I never want anybody in this generation to think that the whole shit, I lost my place. To okay, anybody in the generations to think that the whole everybody's entitled to their opinion is a real thing. Well, come on now, Drake. That I don't agree with that. This is a man projecting his own self-hate and the fact I did and continue to do everything he wanted to do for himself. If you need to put it in simpler terms, I own a 767. He owns a modest house in the 973 and flies first class on special occasions. Ouch. Okay, Drake being a petty king. But anyway,
The thing,
regardless,
what I'll say about Drake though, is if you
hmm,
come for him, if
oh,
you come for
he
Drake,
will come back. If
he
it might not be
will
right away,
finish
but
it for you. He will
he will
finish it
finish
for
it.
you.
He will
He
finish
will. There's so many examples of this.
so
So
many.
I don't understand why people still come for Drake. But anyhow, Joe
So let
Budden.
me. Mhm.
Yeah, go on. What are you gonna say?
No, go ahead. See what you're gonna say about
I was
Joe.
gonna say that Joe Budden. Honestly, like I know that you're a fan, right? I
Yeah,
know that you're a
yeah,
fan. Um, and I feel like you kind of live vicariously through him.
he does.
Maybe that's why you can't wait for his album.
Hmm.
Okay, because you want to live vicariously through him. But I'll be honest, Drake's music has fell off in my
Hmm.
book. It
Hmm.
has fell off from when, if you think about the progression of his career, like he's almost bubblegum rap now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He has bars. Don't come for me, Drake fans. I love Drake. I actually really enjoy his music.
Hmm.
And I've listened to the majority of his albums.
Yeah,
However, the last two, meaning the one just before this one and this one, I have not. Only because I can't ever turn on the radio and not hear Drake. Okay? And sometimes, a bit of a break in a career is really it's really it's necessary. It's necessary to have a break. It's necessary to change your perspective. It's necessary to um, have something new to say. Because I
yeah,
feel like the last two albums are very on the same flex. Like they're kind of on the same flex. I don't think he's had much new things to say. And I think he believes it too, Drake himself, because he's going to
yeah,
take a little bit of a break.
yeah.
Um, you can't turn on the radio and not hear him. I mean,
No,
that's a good thing when it comes to
that's a good
dollars and
thing.
cents.
Yeah,
It is a great thing. However, you become so saturated in the industry that it's easier for your competition to come in and swoop your fans away because they're coming with something different. They're coming with, it's like looking at something with a fresh pair of eyes,
yeah.
right?
And you know what? He doesn't. To your point, like him taking the break. Thank God. He does not have a thing to prove. He's
Like
solidified. He's
you're a
solidified.
billionaire. Like stop this.
Like you're solidified. Like you're
And
good,
Joe
boy.
Budden, I feel like a part of what he said is true.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Drake, you are almost 40 years old. Okay? The Playboy look can only run so long. Look at your daddy. Okay, look at your daddy. It's not running for him no more. Okay, he's trying to get clout off of you, his son. Okay, because Drake's daddy had a few things to say to the haters, aka Joe Budden. And basically he said, "Don't come for my son." Okay, stop this nonsense. However, we know that Joe Budden, you're a little salty because Drake is who you would want to have been in this
Of
career
course.
music. That's who you would have want to have been. And you're not. Okay, and your career is shot to shit. You're on a different projection, and that's fine. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
you do your own thing. But Joe Budden has, he's salty about his career in general. So Drake is not the first and only person that Joe Budden has tried to attack in this music industry thing. He's not the first. Yes, he does attack him more than most,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's because he can see himself in him. He can
Yeah,
see
it's clear.
himself in
Yeah.
Drake, right? Drake, you need to go sit down a little bit. Go be a father for a little while. Come with a different perspective. Have something else to say. A lot of your music is very redundant, and now you're trying to be somebody you're not. The last video that I saw, he had some clips in his hair, and I was like, Drake, who you pick that up from? Where you get that from? We don't do that up here in Toronto. I'm sorry. We just it's just not our flex. That's more like a down south type of a flex with all these clips in his hair and stuff. So Drake, he came for you. He came for you, Joe. He had that response lined up and ready. Um, and I didn't like how he focused towards the end on a jet and money and things like that. Like, I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that
That's like in this
it's an
world.
attack to
Yeah,
his ego. Like, I understand
yeah.
it was an attack to Joe Budden's ego to talk about in terms of how much he has versus how much Joe Budden has. I get that. But it
Mm,
was kind of cheesy. You know what I
yeah.
mean? You didn't need that at the end. You made your point quite clear before that time. So you could have left that out. You know what I mean? Like, he did make his point crystal clear. He didn't need to add that. I just thought it was like kind of, I don't know, macho-y, and I just didn't want to hear that shit. Like, Drake, you just need to go sit down. And Joe Budden, your career's done. Just accept it. It's over. It's never coming back. You're on a different projection. Like, just stop. You know?
Mm. So okay, so that was the drama. Let me get to the actual music. I took a look, listen to. I did probably two full listens, but I'm most engaged with the first half. There's 23 tracks. What did I say, people? What did I say? No more than 15. 15. No more than blood clot 15.
See?
23, like after, like, okay, anyway, I'm getting upset. I'm getting, remember, I always talk about this. I always get upset
This
when
is
you give me
true.
a long ass album like Chris Brown message to you.
Oh,
No more than
God.
15. Okay, so 23 tracks, and I would say up until 12, I'm engaged. I'm engaged all the way up until track 12. That's about halfway, so he could have cut that up off after 12 as far as I'm concerned. But
It's a double disc type of thing. It's a
this is
double disc.
definitely, if we were still in CD world, this would have been a
No,
double
but
disc.
that's what it feels like. It's like
That's what
you
it. Oh, you're right. I get it. Yeah, it does feel like that. Okay, I get it. Yeah, they're doing it in streaming. True, 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 true. You're
you
right.
know what
And
I mean? Like, it feels like a double disc type of
there
thing
is
where
literally an
calm
interlude at
down.
track 12. There's
See?
literally an interlude at track 12 called Screw the World,
See?
about with a DJ Screw style track. And so, oh, you're right. That's exactly what it is. Anyway, I'll just say my call outs. Drake's gonna be Drake. We're talking about redundancy, and he needs to mature and he needs to grow up, but he knows how to put out a solid, interesting
He sure
album. So
does.
we're not saying any. I well, personally, I'm not saying anything really bad about it, but like, to the point, it'd be interesting to see when he comes back after 2-3 years how he sounds as a mature. Like, as we saw Jay-Z mature.
Yeah,
Jay-Z, the thing about Jay-Z, why people say Jay-Z's the best, he got to live to see him turn 50, outside of some
wow.
of the other top rappers, but they continue. And I'll even put now Kendrick in that category. We've seen that each album, there's growth.
There's
Each
growth.
album, you see a growth in the artistry, you see a growth in the content, and that
Right.
is it's so rare. And so that's why we put them on a pedestal for people who are listening, and kind of don't get why these people are on a pedestal. And that's that they've gotten older, and each time they've gotten older, every time they have a new album, there's growth, there's change, there's maturity in the artistry.
And
And that's,
even change of flow and change of
yeah,
vibe and change of,
versatility. Yeah.
yeah, like, it's necessary. And that's why a lot of people will say that Little
Mm,
Wayne is wicked rapper. He's one of the best
hmm.
because you can see even in his cadence, he changes it up.
Yeah.
So it's like okay, Drake, I love ya. You are honestly a dope artist. But I need to hear something other than what you've been doing, because you've been on this whole playboy tough guy image, which I don't know if it's 100% you. Okay.
Mm,
I know that if people come for you, you'll make sure you settle shit. Like I get that, and I can respect that. But I feel like your music is so redundant now. Like it shows no growth. It shows no, um to be honest, even talent. He's so talented.
mm,
And it's just this bubblegum rap that you're about right now. You know what I mean? And it you're so saturated, like you've saturated the industry, so like the music so much, Drake, that we can't turn on the radio without hearing you, right? So if that's the case, can I hear something different?
mm.
If I could turn on the radio in the morning and hear a Drake song, and turn on the radio in the afternoon and hear the same damn goddamn Drake song with a different title. But
Yep.
anyway, you know what, Drake, you do the damn thing. And you know what, I
Yeah.
will give you respect, is that you're not going to let someone like Joe Budden come along and disrespect you.
Yeah.
I'm not, but I think you should take heed to what he's saying, because people like him are what also keep you relevant too, Drake.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
like him are,
His platform is
right? Like they
keeping you
keep you
relevant.
relevant too. And if they're dissing your music, you know, I'm just saying you're not changing for anybody, or
And you know what?
especially
Now
Joe
that you
Budden. But in the same breath, you need to do something different, Drake. And I think you need
now
to take a pause. That's what you need
yeah.
to do.
Now that you say that, that's probably why Drake was actually pissed. Like the fact that Drake actually went there and wrote all these paragraphs is like he's like, damn, like this guy. This is not the first rapper who's upset for Joe Budden for criticizing um an album, which is fine. That's his job. Like that's content. That's viral. So I don't really care. But he's probably like, damn, this guy's using his platform, and now everybody's jumping. It's true. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon with the same criticism. Anyway, not my problem. Drake's
Yep.
gonna be fine. So
Yes.
I want to just do a quick thing. I did. So album first half intro amazing, crazy. Second track with Tizo Touchdown. He's on. Tizo Touchdown was on another album I just listened to that was really good. Oh, he was on Diddy's and there was on another. I don't know, but it looks like this Tizo Touchdown. He's a new feature. He's like the new Weekend or something because
Oh.
every time I hear him featured, I like the song. The song with 21 Savage, anytime he has anything with 21 Savage, it's gonna be solid. And then Fear of Heights with his little boys on there. Fear of Heights is always no Daylight is his little boys on. The song where he's supposedly dissing Rihanna is Fear of Heights as well. And then he has a track with J. Cole, which is pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty strong track there on the album called First Person Shooter. And
But it's J.
then
Cole. Like, come on now. Anything you put J. Cole on,
it's gonna be solid. Yeah, true, true, true.
like, you know.
And
And I
then they're
even
both
I like J. Cole a
oh,
lot,
I
because
love him. I actually love him.
he
He's actually in my
changes.
top.
He's one of my top two. Like,
Mm,
I would say he's in my top five,
yeah.
and he's in the top three of that five.
Yeah,
Is
good
it?
list, good list. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
he
gonna
is.
ask you. Well, hold on to that. I'm gonna ask you what is in your top three in a second, and then behind, outside of Slime You Out, which grew on me. Slime You Out. At first, I was like not feeling it with SZA, the one with the
Right.
Hollywood. But now it's actually grown on me a lot. And the Bahama Promises. Okay, those are my first. That's mostly the first half. Those are the songs that I'm gonna go back to. Everything else, yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Yes, and so, well, with that being said, we will move into the call
Hmm,
out.
the call out.
Yes, this is where we put each other in the hot seat. We ask each other random questions that have to be answered. And so, my question, we were talking a little bit earlier, kind of relates to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. And my question is, do
Mhm.
you think it's possible for a divorced slash separated couple to still live together? Do you
Yep,
think that that's actually possible, where you can still live separate lives but live under one roof?
I do. I had the answer right away. Yeah, I do. I do think that is possible because you're somebody who's now married, but as objectively, I would say that if you're, especially if you're married over 20 years,
Come on,
over
bro.
20 years, that's why some people don't even get divorced. They may not even love the person, but they're like, I'm not doing this again with somebody else.
Right?
It's a lot. So I actually get it. Like, I actually commend people who can move out of that situation and go and try and find new love. That's very brave of you. That's very adventurous of you, because I do think we're built to, humans want comfort.
Right.
We're creatures of comfort at the end of the day, and like,
Right.
for the most part. So if you are at peace, as long as you're not at war, or it's like a really toxic situation,
Yeah.
why change that? Why be on
Right.
your own? It's like, you still have that person. You may not love them like how you loved them 20 years ago when you're first married and stuff, but there's still a natural love that's still ebbing and flowing, because unless that person has completely done something reprehensible, even sometimes they do, you're still gonna love them because those years
Right.
have been put in. So
Right.
personally, I
Right.
think it's completely possible. Whether it's healthy or not, I don't know. I can't judge, but I definitely see. We've seen it outside of the
Yeah.
example we're using. I
Yeah.
actually have seen it before. Yeah.
No, well, yeah. Well, you know what? I feel like even myself, I'm finding it hard to really answer this question definitively, because I do think it's possible depending on the situation.
Yeah.
But overall, I don't think it's a very healthy situation, and therefore long term it's not possible, because that's where I'm at a twist here with my own question. So if the situation is, I've been there with you for 20 years, we're just not compatible anymore, and so I still care for you. Maybe we even have children invested in this relationship
Yep.
that are big and grown, whatever, whatever. I still care for you. So I could see, especially in this economy, I could see, yes, people deciding to stay together. If we have a big house, that's another thing. If we have a big house, listen, I'm not trying to see the brides that you're bringing up in this house. I'm not trying to see it. I don't want to. I don't want to be a part of that. And maybe that's a pride thing. Maybe it's a jealous thing. Maybe it's an
Hmm.
immature thing. But I think that when you have love with someone for so long, in a loving, well, in a typically the position that you're taking is that you love that person and that you made a life with them, and it
Hmm.
came to an end, but you still initially got into it with that idea. So you don't lose that idea over 20 years. So I would find it hard to adjust to that person now having a significant other that's coming in and out of my house. I would have a hard time with that. That's just
Yeah.
me. That's me. I've seen it done. Now, do I think that it's a healthy situation for a long term? No. I think that, maybe until one person gets off their feet, I could see it being a convenience thing, like
Yeah.
right now with the economy. I can see all of that. But for a long term, another 20 years, I don't know. I don't
But
know.
what?
I think
But
there's too much wound up in that relationship that's outside of just being friends,
But
right?
there's a viral quote or video going around where I think somebody was asking Michelle Obama how they were able to sustain their marriage, and her answer was, a lot of people were, especially our generation or younger, they're like, she just said, don't get a divorce. Straight goods, don't get the divorce, because, like, people, we have ebbs and flows, right?
Right.
Like it.
This is it.
And so
Hmm.
again, we've seen lots of people, again, I say, I think it's a natural of human nature, who've been together, they've grown apart, even all had different relationships and
Right.
everything, and now 20 years later, they find each other again.
That's the thing.
So it's like, when you don't give yourself the option of divorce,
Right?
hey, there's always, that's the option of you finding yourself back into that love. Again, I'm not saying it's good or bad or but I personally believe it's truly, truly possible. It's probably even preferred, unless obviously you're in a completely disgusting, toxic situation.
And that's where that's it.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's why sometimes having a bigger house could
Oh yeah.
be
Hmm.
the epitome of
I
it
feel like you
working.
need that space. What do you
You
think, as
need to have
somebody?
it. Like, I'm sorry, if I want to bring, okay, if you're in a
Hmm.
situation, you and this husband or divorced or long-term relationship, you're separated, okay? You've shared your body, your mind, your
What?
soul,
Yeah.
your
Mm.
everything with that person. I'm not watching no damn heifer come up in my house, bro. I'm not watching this bitch come up in my house. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
You could be
No.
a great person, right? But it's the simple fact of, now I have to shift my brain to seeing you with another, right?
Hmm.
And that could be difficult and it could
Oh
be
yeah.
draining and it could create a toxic environment. So
Hmm.
I think, it is, but not for a long period of time. I
Hmm.
don't think it's healthy for a long period of time. Not only that, but if I'm stepping on the outside looking in, right? You is not bringing me to this house with your ex-wife. Bruh, I'm not coming to your house.
No, I'm saying people like in that situation. You're definitely not bringing your new partners to your
No, but
home.
that's the
Like I'm not
thing. At
picturing.
what point, right? Because if you have a new love in your life
Hmm.
and they're serious, they're going to want to know where you live.
Well,
They're going to
then they
want to
have to.
see
If
where
they,
you
but if they
live.
no, but if they know the situation, like you said, if I'm that new love, right?
Uh-huh. That's even more reason why I need to see how the fuck you live. Because how are we doing this?
Yeah, but the thing is, you're as a new love, you're going in knowing you're already at a disadvantage because the person is you're already for you to voluntarily agree to move forward with that situation, knowing it. Hey,
Right? But
right?
exactly. And so for me to go forward, right?
Mm.
I would have to be able to see how this is set up. If we're sharing the
What's the
same
setup
bed,
here?
what's the setup here? Nah, bro. We need to have a full apartment downstairs in the basement or something, and you have the full top half of the house or something. We
Oh, I
need
have a
to have
story.
division. There
I
has
have
to
a
be
story
division.
to add to this. Okay, let's not talk about
Mm-hmm.
like rich celebrities. Forget them. They're living in another world.
Right?
But
A
like
whole
I
different.
remember somebody I know, they're dating or whatever, and they're older, and she met this guy at church, and he was like he I think he did something in the church, like he was a volunteer or something, I think in the music audio engineering section, and she was talking to him, and what she learned is that he is pretty much separated or divorced. I don't know if it was divorced, but he's definitely like him and the wife done long time, but he was living in the basement of the home and the wife was upstairs with the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
But mind you, the marriage is done, but like we're talking about how, you know, for him maybe too, he's probably thinking, hey, that's one less piece of rent. Like, yes, there's
Right?
freedom where there's freedom and you can bring all your women there to your new place if you get a little apartment. But you're like, well, I'm gonna go hitch up in an apartment when I have a whole house here that I'm paying for half for already
Right?
anyway. So I kind of get that. If I put myself in his shoes, I get it. But then if you're ready to move on and have a new woman, like my friend, um, yeah, it's uncomfortable. That woman is like, especially if you really want to do, like, you want to get somewhere with her. Like, it's like you want to get past the dating stage. In the dating stage, okay, sure, who cares? But like, even this person is a grown woman, big man. They're like, I'm not going to nobody's basement with it. Like, that was just
You see
never
what
a
I'm saying?
comfortable
All that.
situation for her. So to your point, in the real life, like, if you really want to move on, and the reason why he was ready to move on is because the wife was about ready to go with her sister and her family members to get her own place. So
See?
that's the only reason he was ready to really, really, really get serious about his life is because, oh, the house is going to be gone soon
Right?
and she's going to be gone
Well,
for real.
okay, being the girl in this
Mm,
situation, right? Now,
mhm,
okay, maybe you're understanding and you
mm.
can get what's going on.
Well, I want to say first of all, at first, like she knew what was happening, but after about a not too long, like it was didn't go too long, she was like, no, that's too messy. Like she definitely opted out of that situation.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
messy. It is
yeah.
messy because you're the outsider.
Mm.
That's just the straight truth. I
There's too
don't
many
care.
variables.
I don't care what's going on in your relationship. If what separated,
Mm.
divorce, or whatever the hell. You're the outsider. The other woman, the other man who's coming into this situation. You're the outsider.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not privy to what's actually happening in the house.
Mm. Mm.
You're really
Mm-hmm.
not. And some of these men out here, okay, because some of these men think that they're entitled to your body till death do you part. Period.
Mm.
Okay, so whether you're divorced or separated, they think that when they need their jollies rocked off, that they can go knock on your door. The love from long time off and slide in at your bed and all. Nah, fam.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, it's too much. It's too close. It's too messy. I know somebody who was in that situation and she got take for a lot of money.
Woo.
Yeah, she got take for a lot of money. Okay, because
What situation was she in? Was she the new
okay,
love or the old love?
so she was the new love.
Okay.
Right. So the guy that she was talking to, and I'll tell you later who that
Mm.
particular person was. But anyways, so she was talking to this dude, okay, and he was separated and about to be divorced. Like the actual divorce was almost finished. It was almost complete,
Mm-hmm.
and he met her and they were talking and get to know each other, and after a while she noticed, how come we never go to your house? Like, so she
Oh
started to
yes.
question things,
Woo.
and when she started to get the answers, she was like floored. She didn't know what
Mm.
to do because at this point in time she's starting to feel for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's starting to put up money for him. That's a whole different topic we need to discuss in the workout one day,
Mm.
because I views on that. First 3 months, don't ask me for a goddamn thing. I
Don't
don't got
ask
not
me.
I don't have nada for you, man. So, right. So she got tied up in that, and so he started to use her so that he could help pay for the rest of his divorce and
Mm.
pay to go and move somewhere else.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets sticky because even though you're separated, you're not fully divorced. And I feel like divorce means I am literally coming out of your life and you are coming out of mine. And
Yeah.
in this situation, she got took for a lot of money. And I'm when I say a lot of money, I'm talking about closer to 5 grand. Okay?
Okay.
She got take for. So it was with this belief that she's helping him to finish this divorce and that she's helping him to move out. And her being smitten by the guy, what really was interested in, helping him because it made her feel better that
Yeah.
her new boo, her new man,
Yeah. She's
is
helping her
out
new
on his
boo.
own and
Mm-hmm.
not up underneath his ex-wife.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a really sticky situation, and when you're the outsider coming into the situation, you have to be very aware of everything that is happening, and that particular person you're dealing with has to make you feel comfortable.
They
it,
have
it
to.
has to be transparent. You got to tell me everything, any question that I have. If you want me to meet the ex-wife, whatever, we need to be 100% open, clear, in the air. Everybody's on the same page. We can't do it any other way. It's just too messy. It's too messy, and you could get really caught up in it. I know someone who did get caught up in it. She got take for 5 grand, and now she's back at square one.
So
So
did the relationship end or?
it didn't, because eventually she started to figure out that even though they were separated, and if you air quotes
Mm-hmm.
separated,
Mm-hmm.
he was still, every now and then having sex with her,
Okay.
right? So this is the thing. Even though they're in the process of getting a divorce, they're still living with each other. Big people have needs. You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Mm-hmm.
Your easy access, right? It's so familiar, right? So, and him and his wife were together for about 15 years. So it's so familiar. It's so a part of who your makeup, like who you are as a person on a day to day. This person is here. So I don't know. I It can be possible, but for not a long period of time. And if
Yeah.
there's somebody else that comes into the equation, it has to finish. Like you gotta
Oh,
move.
definitely. Yeah,
You
you gotta
gotta
move
you
on.
gotta move out.
Thank you for
There's no
getting
more.
serious with that person.
Yeah. But anyway, so
Okay.
what's your question for me? That was a good question, I think.
Yeah, it was good. It was
Thanks,
timely.
Jada. Thanks, Will, for the question.
So I was gonna ask, with this week, generally for ourselves personally was okay based on our checkup, but
Mm-hmm.
generally there is like a lot of, we were talking about like this
Yep.
whole battle going on in Middle East is creating a very uncomfortable
Yep.
air. The air is very volatile. Let me just say
Yep.
something like that.
Sure is.
There's a lot of emotions. High, the emotions are running high right now,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And somebody who's, I think most people are sensitive to stuff like this. This is like affecting the world, but
Yep.
particularly like I would say myself, because I'm very sensitive to things that are going around me.
Yep.
Um, and me, when things get to be too much, I need to check out. I need to, maybe I don't know how that sounds, but I need to find peace and center myself. Let me say I want to
Yes.
recenter, and kind of be
Yes.
like comfortable with my come bring my energy to a level that's not volatile due to what's going on around me, or
Right.
what's in the
Right.
news, or what's in social media, and blah 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 blah. So what I was gonna say is, what are a couple of things that you do, where you find that you center yourself, whatever that means. Basically, if there's a lot of chaos, emotions are running high, something is creating an uncomfortable feeling in you, what are like some exercises that are helpful, that you find helpful to kind of recenter yourself and just bring back a little bit more calm and just like focus.
Right. Well, to be honest, church is my solace. Like
Mm,
church is where I go to restart myself every week.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
whenever I don't go, I feel it. I
mm,
feel it. Um but outside of church, right? I find that a nice long walk, like a
mm,
nice
yeah,
long nature walk where I can enjoy God's goodness around
mm-hmm,
me.
yeah,
And it's something you can do no matter what the season is, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah, I
something you can
agree.
do because there's so much goodness out there, like you were talking about earlier, the Grand Canyon and stuff like that. There's so much of God's goodness that puts you into perspective and
Mm,
helps you to recenter. So a long nature walk is always good,
yeah,
but
yeah,
the church does help me the majority of the time. I'll be straight, and also reading,
mm,
reading a book. You know why? Because it's like taking a vacation.
mm,
It's a mental vacation. It's somewhere where I can put down the bothers of the world and step into a book where I can step into whatever time, setting,
yeah,
character, whatever. I can step into a book. And I mean, reading in itself, right, is there's so much good in it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I think that reading, because it helps me take a vacay. Um, like, have you ever really gotten to a good book? Like, a really
Well,
good book? Like, you lose track of time.
you can, yeah. I've actually just really started getting back into reading. I kind of fell off for reading for a long time. I really did. I used to be an avid reader all the way up into a little bit after my university days, and I fell off. I'm trying to get back into it though. I have a
Yeah,
book
I've
that I.
been I've been
Mhm.
trying to get back into it more and more. 10 years ago when I became a mom, it was like, okay, well, yeah, reading's gonna have to be short and sweet, okay,
Mm.
and we're gonna have to get to the point because because I because I don't have a lot. I don't have a lot of time on my hands as I, I guess when my child was a lot younger, like I didn't have a lot of time. But now that she's older, she likes to read too.
Mm.
So I find
So
that
her
reading
reading time is your reading
is my
time.
reading time. And
Hmm.
it does help center me because I lose track of whatever is around me, right?
Okay.
And so um but I think in terms of order, I think church, a nature walk, and reading. That's how it would go for me.
Okay.
Because reading, sometimes it takes a lot more to be able to
It
lose
does, and
track.
it depends. And depending on what you're reading, sometimes that too can trigger things.
Well, that
For
too,
me,
right?
yeah.
That
For
too.
yeah,
So that, I think, church is a good place to start because
yeah.
it does help to focus you
Hmm.
on something other than you, right? So because sometimes that's what you need, is to focus on something other than you and what is going on and how you're feeling about it. Like, if
Yeah.
so, when I'm praising the Lord, I'm focused on praising the Lord and
Hmm.
not, oh, well, I this and that and this, and like, I'm not thinking about all that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm more focused on praising the Lord. And so, and putting my whole self and my whole, who, all that I am into doing that, giving it my full all. So I think that's what for me to answer that question. But what about you?
I was gonna say, those are great. I don't go to church as much anymore because I'm not in my. I just don't. I'm looking for a church home, but I don't really go to church for them regularly. But yeah, but I'll put on gospel music. That's like
Mm-hmm.
something that can help, or I'll just go pick up my Bible and read some Psalms,
That too. Yeah.
or even my daily devotionals, which usually when I get up Sunday afternoon, usually around that time, I'll kind of do a little something, some meditation on that. Also, I stay off of social media,
Mm-hmm.
like actively. Like you said, getting outside is good, like not just getting outside to go to the mall or anything like you said, but like maybe just go, like you said, go for a walk and be with yourself.
Right.
um
Yeah.
yeah, and something I'm a very auditory person, so even having sound, so I said gospel music. Then there's like, if I have really high anxiety, whatever, for whatever reason, I have like a playlist that I have that's like, I call it calming instrumentals. So it's very
Oh,
calming. I have
nice.
two. One is calming voices and one is calming instrumentals. And so those are things, especially if it's at work, I'm feeling like edgy.
Yeah.
I put on my noise blocking headphones and put that on, and I just block everybody out and I just listen to that. That's very helpful. And yeah, I think those are the main things, and I think really staying off social media. Social media is, I know you don't have that problem,
Nope.
but even YouTube, even like sometimes you could get mistake yourself when going to YouTube, like, so it's like curating your content
Yeah.
for like, sometimes you just have to, like, just look at TV, like you turn off the news, like I stopped watching the news a long time,
It's
but
been at
one
least
thing,
15 years
yeah,
for
long
me.
time. So like, that's not an issue for me, but something I do in the mornings, just to not feel completely disconnected, is I listen to a radio show
Yeah.
on
Yeah, me
CBC. I think
too.
it's called CBC Metro Morning. Only because it's like a mix. Like they'll talk about the biggest stories. They're not going to go on every little detail, but they'll
Yeah.
talk about the
Yeah.
biggest stories in the city or internationally, and that's all I really need to know. Not to be completely disconnected, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as I say, stay away from social media to avoid all that noise. Like you said, find things to center yourself, whether it's praise and worship, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
music or exercise, whatever, meditation, whatever that is.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, and finding things to find. Basically, what I feel like all these things have together to do is like blocking out the noise and centering yourself, finding peace and gratitude, whatever that happens to be. And for, we're talking about, for us, we're Christians, and we like to pray, that we lean on our Christianity for that.
Amen
For
to
other people,
God.
whatever
Yes.
that is. But
But
yeah, so that was good.
one
Go
thing I
ahead.
wanted to mention though, when having a centered self is very important. Balance is
Ooh,
necessary.
so
Balance
important.
is necessary. You cannot do anything without balance.
Hmm.
You really can't. When you think about it, really think about it. Even in the world that we're in, there's balance. There's
Yeah.
everything around us is balanced, right? And when it's thrown off balance, we can tell. So us ourselves have to be balanced too. So it is very important, listeners, that you find something that balances you and that keeps you from teeter-tottering one way or the other too heavy. You need to find something that keeps you centered. Um and whatever it is, whether it's meditation, whether it's God, whether it's, whatever it is, I'm very glad that I never got into the social media thing.
Mm.
I feel like back then I knew something that probably people thought I was crazy, but I knew something wasn't right with this whole social media thing from the rip, from the Facebooks. You
From the
understand?
Facebook,
From the
yeah.
Facebooks, okay? And I'm not gonna act as a hypocrite because I'm not a hypocrite. I do stay current. I stay current in
Yeah.
other forms.
Hmm.
Going on social media, I'm sorry, but that is not the way to stay current. It isn't. You need
Mm.
to find other outlets other than social media, because social media, to be quite honest, it's
It's
a
pretty
place.
toxic.
It's
I
very
can tell
a
you.
lot of hate, a lot of hate, a
And
lot of
hate, and it's very
negative
loud,
energy, a lot of
negative
negative,
energy,
negative
darkness.
darkness, falsehoods. Like it leads
Mm,
you
the false
down.
girl, the falsehood. You
Falsehoods
said
are
a word.
serious, bro. They're serious
Mm,
out here in these streets. And if you don't know, if you don't have a strong enough discernment, you
mm,
could be pulled down that falsehood. And if you're not careful, it will off balance you to the point where you can't center, right? And so you'll need outside resources to help center you, like a therapist or a counselor, somebody
mm.
who will step in and help to center you. Those falsehoods are serious, and they're nothing to play with. Now, I do, like, I'm not a hypocrite here, people. I do involve myself in certain aspects of the internet. Okay. I don't do social media, but I do stay current. I do listen to YouTube. I listen to radio stations. I don't watch news channels. I don't do them because I understand communications and how the bigger heads, what they want us to know and what they don't want us to know is pumped through news stations. You can see that time and time again. We've talked about it on this show, where they'll tell you enough to make you scared to continue to tune in. That's the point. Continue to tune in. And how do you do that? You cause fear. And when someone is afraid, they will make sure they turn on that CNN and have it running all night long.
Lord. Ugh.
Okay, so it's very it's an outlet where I stopped doing that a long time ago. With social media, I feel like it's the devil's playground. I've said this before. People call me conspiracy theorist all they want. I don't give a shit. Maybe these conspiracy theories are God's way of telling me you're on to something. You're on
Mm.
to something.
You're definitely
Because
onto something because now.
you're really on to something here, Kim, because the first time I ever heard a young girl killing herself because of social media, I said, bloody hell, the devil playground. Because that's exactly what he seeks to do. He wants to divide and conquer. So if he can get you, and you know what I never could understand? Social media. How is it sociable if you're doing it alone? How
Well, I
how
think
could how could that work?
it's the engage. It's like you can be here in Toronto,
Yeah, but
right?
you're
And
still alone doing it.
but you're going to connect but you're going to be communicating and engaging with somebody, say, in India, or like you may be feel alone, but you feel like you have a community online. We know it. And for us it is kind of like, really, but for younger people, like you said, like somebody like your daughter's age, or even like the Gen Zers, that is not, that is literally how they're social now. So for us it's kind of like you could be like side-eyeing it, but in the
Yeah, but
other
we're
end.
not. That's not the real world. That's not the
Yeah,
real
but for
world.
some people that is their real world.
But it's not a real world
Yeah, for
because
us, we can.
it's not a real world if you can put it down.
Mm,
It's not. It's not a real. We could tell each other whatever we want to tell each other. If
mm,
you can put that down, then it's not a real world.
mm,
And you have to isolate yourself in order to be a part of said world.
yeah.
So for me, that's not a real world. That's one that has been created by all these big heads who are making billions of dollars off of you doing that, being a
Mm-hmm.
part of that world. That is not a real world. It's just not. And I understand where I understand what we're living in. I get
Mm,
that. I get that this is the new age and this is how they communicate. However, it also stops them from communicating in the world that they're actually a part of. You're
yeah.
actually a part of this world here. Okay, not the one on your phone. So I feel like that's how the devil divides. Because yeah, I could be communicating with someone in India, but I'm doing it by myself in the world that I'm living in.
Mm-hmm.
So when everybody is around me, right? Like, for instance, you go to dinner with someone and they can't put down their phone to have a conversation with you,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
right? So you're not in the real world that way. You're stuck in you took the red pill, you drank too much of the juice, you understand?
You drank too much of the
It's
Kool-Aid.
too much of the damn juice. So, with all of that being said, we're just saying out here, listeners, that find something to center yourself, whatever that might be, and hopefully, we were able to give you some suggestions and maybe a place to look or a place to start. And so we do hope that with all that being said, that your hearts and minds were activated on this week's show. Whether you lead with your heart or your mind, please be thoughtful and passionate. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye.
Bye.